Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and today I'm pleased to introduce Jimmy Dack. We are going to be covering Jimmy's role, his story so far, and his hopes for his, I'm going to use the word legacy, at Sutton United. Don't forget, we love hearing from everyone, so please join the conversation, like, share, retweet, quote tweet, and chat with other fans. Let us know what you think and engage. Big shout out to everyone who does it. I do love all the engagement. We're going to say thank you to Jimmy and hope you're well. There is a controversial one to start off with.
Go on.
Is there any truth in the rumour that you were so traumatised by my performance at left back in last year's fan game that you couldn't manage the new one, the one this year?
I couldn't put myself through it anymore, Mike.
Unfortunately, I did. Except I went to right back this time. Someone thought I might be better there. They were horribly wrong.
Well, I got one win in one, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to cut my losses while I'm on top.
100%. Now, there are a few vintage fans who will know you very well.
Yeah.
And you're always chatting to people whenever I see you at the club. I kind of try and catch your eye and say hello, but I'm always chatting to someone about something. But for the benefit of those who don't know you, can we have a quick chat about or a praising of yourself before you become the academy manager? I will try and sort my life out and do one of the XU's Views interviews with you where we can go a bit deeper into that. But for now, just give us a little sort of bio for you.
Well, I mean, I signed for Sutton as a young 18-year-old, and I was signed by Ted Sheppard and Keith Blunt, and I'd come into this really big non-league club when I was 18. And I just fell in love with it. I just completely bought into the whole Sutton United thing. You know, its values, respect. You know, people working together. And you know, when I first come there, I didn't understand any of that. And then once I got playing for this football club, I got drawn to it, and I ended up having nearly 300 appearances for the club, which, you know, doesn't normally happen these days. And it's always been my club. I've gone off and experienced different things in my career as a coach and manager. But this has always been my club. And I always felt that I wanted to come back and do something at this football club, whatever it was. And when this opportunity comes to be the academy manager, I just had to take it. I was chief scout at Wigan at the time. Going all over the country and different countries and looking for players. And I just got this opportunity, and I live in Worcester Park. I've never strayed from the area. I've always been there, even when I was assistant manager and manager at Newport for 5 years, and yeah, it's my home, and it's great coming back and seeing the same faces, you know, Bruce, Dave Fairbrother, you know, the list is endless. Graham Starnes, you know, I'm just
don't go through all the names.
Yeah, you know, we can go on and on and on. You know, sorry if I've not mentioned anyone, but you know, there's so many good people at this club, and they're all the same people, but we're all just a little bit more older. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, all the same people. Going on to when we were in the EFL last few years, doing different interviews, it did make me laugh when we were doing the BBC ones. And I was like, you could almost take one of these fans out and replace them with a completely different fan who hadn't heard what they said, and the conversation would be exactly the same because everyone is from the same hymn sheet, which is really, really good. I keep finding, and I keep saying to everyone, these sound like job interviews. Obviously, you've got the job, but can you explain what your role is as the head of the academy or the manager of the academy, whatever it is?
So when I come into the club, it was a new role to me, but football's football. So whether it's an under 9 or an under 18, or if you're playing in the men's league, football's football. And I come into the role, and it was just starting off as an academy, and it was just a little bit dysfunctional at times, in terms of where, we had 8 or 9 different venues. We had, lots of coaches, no one, and I just had to try and join it all together because everything was all in place. But I needed to try to sort of home in on getting people to feel for this football club. Because even though you're playing for the badge, you're training in Guildford and you're training in Mitcham, and it was just no continuity for me. So I just felt that one of my first things I needed to do was make sure we got the venue situation better, got it right, and we started to get the right people in the right holes, and just get the staff buying into, what I experienced, the values. The work rate, the togetherness, the respect of each other, the just really working hard for each other. And some bought into it, most bought into it. The ones that didn't, they went and they left because they didn't feel that it was for them. And we've sort of managed to sort of really get a real good, hard-working workforce here now that are all understanding what I want and what I expect us to be on and off the pitch. So that was one of my things I wanted to do when I come into the academy. I needed to make people aware of the values, but I also needed to make sure that we were getting good players into this football club, because that's one thing that we've always been good at. We've always had good youth teams. We've always, it's a great area in South London, and we've always brought good players in, and I needed to make sure that we were carrying on doing that. And I wanted to get more local boys. I didn't want people travelling from all over the place that didn't understand the football club. So for the last 18 months to 2 years, we've worked really hard on trying to build relationships with all the local clubs, also all the local professional clubs. So, there are any players that don't quite make the grade at Fulham and Chelsea. We want it to be advertising, and we want them to say, look, go to Sutton. They're going to look after you there. They're not going to have everything, and we're not. I don't pretend to have the best facilities and stuff like that. But you get treated with respect, and we give you everything we possibly can. And try and be the best version we can possibly be. So I'm sort of building on that locally, and we're starting to see players now that are being released from Fulham's and Chelsea's and Palace, and we're actually getting them, which is a great achievement really. So and that comes down to building up the recruitment side of things, which we've done, and just improving the coaching.
I've just thought of this. This might be a bizarre question. How would the situation at Croydon affect? Because obviously you've got Stormzy and Zaha, who sort of started at a club. They're going to attract an awful lot of young people going, I want to be with them. Has that had any effect, or am I just talking nonsense, which is quite probable?
it's going to attract players. There's no doubt about it. But players always want to play as high as they can. And because we was in the EFL, you know, we just had that edge over last year. We're talking about over your Bromleys, over your Wokins, your Dawkins, your Aldershots, because they were a conference club and they wasn't an EFL, you know, paid program. Because we was, you know, we would always get the boys that have been released from the big pro clubs. Us and Wimbledon were the next step, which,
right.
you know, we was always competing with them. So you always get the better standard of boy, better standard of coaches that can come in and, you know, offer their services. It's a bit of a pecking order, really. But now, obviously, we've gone down to the conference. You know, I don't think we're better than anyone else by no stretch of the imagination, but we've still got 2 years of EFL funding. So, you know, hopefully, with the gods on our side and Steve working his magic, you know, we can go back up in the next 2 years and keep this academy going in the right direction, because, you know, we've got some really talented boys coming through.
So one of the first things you mentioned is obviously coming in and joining everything up and making plans. And I imagine there's a lot of sitting at a desk, scratching your head going, what? But how do you balance the admin with the hands-on coaching?
Yeah, that's a really good question, that, Mike. And I come in here because I'm an A licensed coach myself. You know, I've coached and managed in the league, and I've had promotion at the conference. And I thought I was going to come in and, you know, be able to give my experience to the players and stuff like that. And actually, it's everything. But, you know, I probably, that's probably 10% of my job now. Is a lot of it's admin, a lot of it's, you know, making sure safeguarding's okay, staffing. You know, we've got quite a lot of staff in the academy. And I probably, you know, misread the fact that you've got to organise all these staff. You know, if people let you down or they're off, you've got to make sure there's cover. You know, and safeguarding's a massive thing now. Yeah. So, you know, we've got to make sure we stay ahead of the game, paying bills. Yeah, and then I'm speaking to you know, we're on the audit list every year, so we've got to make sure things are in place. So yeah, there's a lot going on before we can actually get on the grass. And, you know, if it wasn't for, you know, my assistant Kelly Jade, who's she's an absolute rock to me, and all my other staff, Bev Little, who's Annie Little, the first team goalkeeper's wife. Bev does all my player care. Then we've got the education side. So Steve Bozzi, he does all. We've got to make sure that, because we give these 2-year programs, it's not just about football. You know, with the scholars, they have to reach certain targets for their education. You know, we try to give them a lot of stuff away from football, other skills, so we can, you know, if they don't make it as footballers, we give them stuff that they, you know, gives them other tools, whether it's, you know, cooking, whether it's coaching, you know, everything. You know, we just try to make them good, rounded individuals, and you know, come away from this 2-year program. If they don't become footballers, then, you know, they've got some life skills.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the oddest things about most jobs is the better you are at the job and you get promotion, the further away you get from what you're good at and enjoy. I do customer service, and I very rarely now get to talk to customers because I'm doing lots of other things. So it's like,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm really enjoying it because it's opened my eyes up to so much more. But, you know, there is so much that goes on even before we kick a ball. You know, and because we're not really blessed with because we've not got all the facilities that we used to have. When we had the 3G, there was a college program being run, and it was so much easier to run because we had facilities. But one of our biggest, hardest things that we have to try to overcome in the academy is facilities, getting pitches, you know, getting places to train, floodlit places of an evening. You know, bearing in mind we're in an area where Chelsea, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Wimbledon, you know, they're already in these areas. So we're trying to establish ourselves, and with all these established clubs around us. So that's been a real challenge in itself. We just don't have the basic things that other league clubs have, but we just make the best of what we can, and we do well with it. And I just think that makes us even more together as a club and an academy, because the parents don't expect whistles and bells, and they understand we're trying our best, and and that's what makes us Sutton United, I suppose.
Yeah, as usual, if anyone's got a field or anything, we'd love to have facilities. So if you
or know anyone, that'd be great.
Because one of the other things on that is, there's schools and stuff with pitches, but they wouldn't be able to do anything, because as soon as you start putting floodlights on and not, be like, no, not a chance, that's not happening. So
well, one of the things we've done, Mike, we sort of went into sort of partnership with Aberdale School, and I know it's going to probably be one of your questions but we managed to sort of we sold a player from the academy, and with the money we sold, we managed to put a 3G pitch in the school, and put floodlights on, and it's it's lovely, and it's only sort of a third size of a full size pitch, but it's ours and it's home, and all our from under 9s to under 14s can train on it. The school use it in the daytime, and they can do whatever they like, and we have it at night. But that's probably the best we can possibly get, under tough circumstances. But it's worked, and it just feels like we've actually got a home.
So my next one was some of the biggest challenges. I think you've kind of covered a lot of that with the facilities. How do you measure success for the academy? I know, for example, years ago, I knew someone who was at the Chelsea Academy, and their success was the academy paying for itself. And they didn't really have any targets of players coming through to the first team. It was just sell the players on. But how do you measure success?
Well, at present, I mean, we've reduced the we had when we started off, it was quite a lot of money being put into the academy, but we've reduced that significantly, and we're trying everything we can to have a better product, but don't pay out as much, because we want to be self-sufficient at some point. Sorry, that's my dog. We're quite lucky. We've got a supportive chairman and board that believe in what we're trying to do, and but we also know that you can't keep throwing money at it. At some point it has to come back in other ways. Now, we've been trying to get sponsorship. It's been hard to come by. We've even sort of gone into the parents to see if any of the parents are sponsor teams, which we've just had one. I might give them a bit of a plug. It's Lewin Builders, who's just sponsored the under 11s. So thank you very much, guys. But we're just trying everything we can really to try and be a bit more self-sufficient, because the more the club pay for the academy, which they've never had any problems, the less the first team get. And and I don't mean that horribly, but we're all here for the first team. So, the quicker Steve can get us back in the league, it just makes things a lot easier. So we're all working hard behind the scenes. Ben, who's one of the directors, is and Phil, Phil Letts, and there's just some really good people trying to do some good things here, trying to really make sure that we can generate as much money as we can.
Yeah, I mean, it was going to be one of my things later on, is the setup for the academy, which we kind of, not just our academy, all academies, there's like set fees, isn't there, for players who've been with you for certain times?
Yes, yeah.
And when we fall out of that protection status, that's why a lot of academies end up having to close, because the players aren't protected anymore. Anyone can come and grab them, can't they?
Well, so at present, they're all frozen because we've come out of the league. So we've got protection, and they're with us, and we've got it all the time. We've got EFL status, which is the next 2 years for definite. So we've got that protection, which is great, and they're all in a system where I think, don't quote me on it, but once they get to under 14s and we offer them a scholarship, then we can negotiate whatever money we feel's right,
All right.
to clubs. So once they're 14 and we can offer them a scholarship, then obviously you get protected as a club. But before that, anything before that, then it's all part of a framework where you get a certain amount if they've been in the system for 1, 2, 3 years. So there is some sort of protection there. But because we've put sort of 3 years into some of these boys, they've got a real feel for this football club now. When you go up and watch them on a Sunday morning at Aberdale and they're scoring goals and sliding on their knees and kissing the badge, I mean, me and Terry Bullivan, we just love going up there and seeing it. I don't think there's not one player from under 9s up to under 18s that Terry don't know. He eats, sleeps and breathes football, and he just loves it. So him and myself, we're up there on every time we possibly can, because we just get a real good kick out of seeing these boys enjoy playing for this club. And when you say what is success, I mean, for me, that watching these boys playing for this football club and enjoying it, and that's what it should be about, and have values and be respectful, teamwork, work hard, play hard. I don't want my teams to not be competitive, but be honest, and that's what we try to instill right the way through the academy.
Okay, so this next one leads on, I think. It's horrible. What have been some of your proudest moments? Now, it's not all about, as you just said, it's not all about winning and being competitive. What was kind of some of your proudest moments? You don't have to go for all of them, and this isn't a 1, 2, 3 list. Just whatever comes to mind.
Do you know what? It's when you get these boys that are training through all sorts of weathers, and they're always there and they want to learn and they're just so, and then you offer them a scholarship. I mean, for me, there's nothing like it. It was just, I just felt so happy for them. It was one of the proudest moments. I just felt so happy for offering these boys who have put everything into trying to become a footballer, and it's the first step on the ladder for them. And when you tell them that you're going to give them a 2-year scholar, some of them just, you could see their eyes just well up and start to get upset, and their bottom lips go. That to me is that's when it's worthwhile. Them things for me, that's a proud moment. Not and also watching some of our first years last year be in and around the squad. We had 6 or 7 of them training with the first team last year from Christmas onwards, and Vinny Tunes made his first team debut, a league debut. That's what dreams are made of. And we just say, if you work hard and you listen and you try to be a good person on and off the pitch and work hard on and off pitch, anything can happen. And we're lucky. We got a manager, a good manager, who is happy to involve them and give them the experience that they need. The goal from being an under 18 player first year to league football is huge. It's so big, it's ridiculous. But the gap's closing now, because we're now a conference club. They're now becoming second years, and now had a taste of first team football, training with them. They possibly need a senior loan at Conference South or Ryman Premier League, a bit like Jack Taylor did last year. And then he got his chance to become a professional, which there's a process here, and we're just nurturing these boys along, because we have got six or seven second years now that will be pushing closer to the first team next year, and we've got the same next year, our first years. So I'm really pleased with what's starting to come through.
Conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned local kids. Jack definitely wasn't local. What was it, 2 hours a day either way or something? His poor mum had to traipse him.
Yeah. I mean, Jack. If I'm honest with you, when I come in, I inherited Jack. He was just before I come in, and he showed a massive commitment. And sometimes I think to myself, you don't want to burn out. You don't want these boys to burn out. But sometimes, if you want it that badly, you do it. And I think it's all part of your character. And it's obviously paid off for Jack, which is, great news for him.
Yeah. I'd say he's top 5 appearance holder for the first team at the moment. And Vinny last year, he obviously came in for his debut, and I did ask him afterwards, did his eyes light up when Omari started pelting down and he was free in the box? And he was like, yeah, I did think he's coming to me. But is there any one that you think we should be looking at for the next one, or possibly breaking through this season? Or is that too difficult?
Well, I can't say that because
no.
I would say all of them because
okay.
I
pick your favourite child.
Yeah, do you know what? I think the world of all of them. They are such good lads, and that's a big thing for us. We don't just sign boys on their football ability. You've got to be a good person as well, because that's really important to me. I just find that the best changing rooms I've played in and worked in, they're good changing rooms. They're good people, respectful of each other. They demand of each other, but and that's really important to me that we get that bit right. So, we don't just sign anyone. There's a process, and they've got to be the right fit. I've seen talented boys come in this academy who have not got scholarships because I just don't think they've got the right attitude. Because it's a real tough. Like our second years now, it's going to be tough because they're going to be training with the first team 1 week. They're going to be with us, and it's you've got to have a good mentality. You've got to whoever you train with, you be the best version of yourself. And I've seen a lot of players that go up into the first team and they come down with us, and the body language starts going. They start not wanting to run that bit harder, and we can't have that. No. This is not about that. This is about your development.
I mean, I suppose the step this season for anyone doing it is possibly going to be a bit easier in that a lot of the first team are quite young anyway.
Yeah.
And you don't have the old gits like Eastie teaching them how to roll around on the floor and cry every time when someone comes near you. But how much involvement is there? I know you and Steve talk regularly, but how much involvement is there on the players that are chosen to go up? Is it like almost like a reward based thing, or is it Steve says I need defenders, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's a bit of both really. There's been times when Steve said, look, I need a left back, I need a striker, and I will just say, well, look, we've got X, Y, and Z, and he'll go, right, we'll take X and Y. So it's a bit of both really, but I've also, said to Steve, look, can we step him up and can he come into your environment, because he's just been really good. And Steve's, adheres to it, and he's quite open to that, and it's great. It's great. It makes it a lot easier for me when I, turn around and say to the academy boys, this is what can happen if you work hard and apply yourself right. But I think if you're good enough, you'll get there. And I just feel that this academy now is in a position where you're starting to see a conveyor belt coming through. We've got 6 second years or 7. Steve might have a few nice choices come the end of the season. The next lot of first years he'll have the same, and the under 16s he's going to have the same. So, I think we're doing our job in the academy, and when you say measure success, well, I think that's it really. Trying to just get players in and around the first team for Steve to make decisions.
Obviously, being a bit older than some people, I do remember we used to have, not us, everyone used to have reserve teams as well. But the step is quite difficult because Ollie came in at the start of last season.
Yeah.
Did brilliantly in some of the friendlies. Didn't look out of place. And, but because he's then too old for the academy, and he wasn't quite difficult, then we kind of say, well, is it fair to keep him? There's no way for us to play him. Is he going to get enough game time and so on? How kind of difficult is that to see? Not just Lolly, I'm not talking about just him, but he's an example, to see players that we put so much time and effort. It's like, actually, we can't justify giving you a contract at the moment.
Well, Ollie was a real tough one for me because, firstly, he was a great lad, and just give his all every time he trained, he played, he was never late. All them little things that really, really, made him what he was. So we wanted to get him out on loan because I think it's really hard once they finish their second year, they still need another year or two to develop. And this is where it's down to us to try to. I put one or two. I put Ollie on a third-year scholar, and I've put Sam Roberts on a third-year scholar. And there's a full process behind it because I think if you put them as a pro, and I think it puts a bit more pressure on them at such a young age, but it stops them from, they might have a U-turn on their career and say, well, actually, I want to go out to the States and do a scholarship and, do a degree. And once they become a professional, I don't think they can go out there and do that. So we sort of said, right, any of the boys we want to sort of keep around us that we feel that they're not quite ready for us, let's put them as a third-year scholar. We'll get them out on loan and we'll just monitor them for the next year. And hopefully, it's other clubs do it to us. Millwall would send us players. They send you players from a championship club into League Two to learn on your watch, to gain experience. So, when Millwall want him to play in their first team, he's a bit more experienced and a bit more rounded. Now, we need to do the same for our players, and we need to send them to clubs where we know they've got massive potential, and we need to, send them to other clubs to gain that bit of experience and give them that year that might be the difference to really make an impact in the first team.
Right. So you mentioned it earlier. The club has got lots of arms, lots of bits, lots of going on, but it's so much driven by the first team. Yeah. And to a certain extent, you guys could have the greatest academy in the world, winning titles left, right, and centre. But when we were relegated, it comes in with this funding and protection that we spoke about. So how does the relegation impact us, short term and long term in the academy?
Yeah, it's massively more than you can imagine. Parents get a little bit worried about what's going on with their children. Are we going to be playing in the EFL program next year? Or the year after? In theory, and we've actually got 2 years to go up, and then we lose all our status to be, in the EFL program. Now, it's going to be hard, but we got so many good boys here. We'll find another way. There's always another way, and there's no way that we're going to let any of these boys go without a fight. And the best ones, there's not a lot we can do about it, but we can't put 3 or 4 years into all these boys and just let them go. So, we will do everything we can to carry it all on, because we know that there's some good boys in here and there's some good work going on in the academy. Now, in regards to staff obviously want longevity in their for their futures. And if I'm honest with you, most of them come into academy football because they get the longevity of being in football and getting paid for it, right? And that's why most people go in academy football, other than wanting to coach younger lads. But if you work in senior football, that you're 5 games away or 6 games away from, probably getting the sack. So there's not a lot of longevity in that. There's a lot more pressure involved in that. But when it gets taken away from you, like when you're an EFL club and these staff sort of think, oh, we're going to be here forever, and it sort of gets taken away from you, then they start panicking. So they start thinking about, what we're going to do. We've got mortgages, we've got bills to pay, and they start looking elsewhere. So you do start losing staff. So it's so hard to reassure them when you can't reassure them. It's almost like we've all got a 2-year contract. It is what it is, and if we go up, then we're all back in, all back working. But if we don't, then we find another way. But I try not to look too far ahead. As much as I do, I can't plan more than a season ahead. Yeah, because it changes so quickly.
Yeah, I mean in our division, I think it's Southend. I can't remember who else of Oldham. I think have basically closed off. Rochdale might be closed it off, and a lot of people are saying, well, that's stupid because we get loads of players through it. We sell them on, and that's the bit that is the worry about the protection. Where if they're not protected anymore, people can just pick them up for peanuts and they're not making the money. Again, that sounds really mercenary, and these aren't pieces of meat. These are local boys that people will know. So I don't mean it in such a harsh way.
Just going on with obviously the funding. I mean, we get full funding for the first year, so nothing changes. Nothing changes, but then it goes to half funding next year. So what it does, it starts to wind you down as an academy, which, but you as a club, you have the choice to keep it maintaining how it is, which gives you 2 years to stay up. And, we've had some really good conversations with the club, and, they're really enjoying the academy, and they're liking the work that's being done, and they're fully supportive of it. So that's all I can ask. I can only ask for their support, and they're giving it to us in abundance.
Well, Gary was on a couple of weeks ago, and without any kind of probing or prompting, he said one of his ambitions is to have the club playing basically the same football, same style from kids all the way up through the academy to the first team, and build to have our own players with all of those things that you mentioned about this is our club, and you'll have those players just trying that little bit extra because it's their club and it has been for years.
Definitely.
So he seems well up for it, and I'm pretty sure Ben is as well.
Yeah, no, and listen, they're great guys, and they're just really trying to make sure that nothing changes. And it's great news for me as an academy manager, because all the anxiety around the staffing and the parents and stuff like that, I can't give them all the answers, but I can reassure them that we got full support by the board, and we are, it's business as usual. Nothing changes. We're going to keep going, and we're going to keep being the best version of ourselves.
Perfect. So looking back to last season, forget what the first team didn't do, but what were your highlights and challenges for last season from the academy point of view?
Right. So trying to work out the question. You about the first team? Or?
No, forget the first team. They did us dirty. So from your academy point of view, what were some of the highlights? What would be on your memory reel for last season?
Well, just watching the players develop, watching these young boys coming in at 15, and now, they're growing into men, and the standards they're setting. For me, that's you can't buy that sort of stuff. Boys coming in and challenging each other, really working hard, playing for the team. When I watch these boys getting in and around the first team, I couldn't be more prouder. Us as academy staff, we're so proud of every one of them boys. We don't stop talking about it. When Vinny went on, the WhatsApp group, the phones nearly, caught fire. Everyone's so proud. And just everything really, watching our team get to the semi-final of the Surrey Cup. We got 15, 16-year-old boys playing. That to me it's brilliant. We're playing against men, 15, 16, 17-year-old boys playing against, experienced men, and getting to the semi-final. To me, that's great to see. Beating Colchester away in the FA Cup, a Category 2 club, academy, brilliant. I think we was a bit unlucky with a draw. Then we drew Oxford United that got to the quarterfinals of the FA Youth Cup last year. I think we was a bit unlucky last year, but hopefully, if we get good draws this year, I really feel we'll do okay.
And Liam's still taking the free kicks and getting own goals. I mean, sorry, scoring great free kicks.
Yeah, exactly. But no, they're all the gains for me. What do I measure success in the academy? Just making sure that we're producing players to play for Sutton and wanting to play for this football club. That's my success.
Perfect. So before we started recording, we did start have a little mini chat, and one of the things I kind of raised is the way football is now, with man management, player management, and the way it was when you were the 18-year-old coming in is vastly different. How have you adapted your style over the sort of time to not throw teacups or egg sandwiches around the place and just kind of get your message across to the players in a concise way?
Yeah, I mean, I just think you've got to pick your moments. That's something you need to do. You just can't scream and shout them nowadays. You shouldn't have done it when I was playing, but that was just the way it was. I think it was a lot of managers wanting to get something off their chest, but sort of not really thought it through. They felt better of themselves. Now they got a bit off their chest. But nowadays the game's changed. You've got to go away. When I was at Newport, I used to be a bit reactive and sort of react to things straight after games. But when you actually watch the video, you actually see it a bit differently, and you think, oh God, I shouldn't have probably said that, and I shouldn't have done that. And we had a thing at Newport where, and at Crawley when I was there as manager and assistant, we just said, look, don't speak on a Sunday, day off with a family, just regroup, and we'll have a meeting on Monday. And everything looked completely different. So yeah, we try to do that in the academy now. I mean, there's been a few times when I've lost my rag, but it's I've actually got a lot better with experience. But yeah, I mean, you just have to treat them a bit differently. You have to manage them differently. You have to, you just have to treat them a bit more differently these days than you did before. But they're all the same people.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, watching a match back when you know the result is a very different experience, because there is so much more you can see, because you're not then panicking about what's happening here, what's going on there. And so when you watch it back after, you're like, oh, I missed that bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, did that really happen? Oh,
yeah.
No, I didn't do that. Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't his fault. It was my fault. So you've obviously mentioned the academic. How kind of important is that? And do the players ever have to be told, no, you can't play because you're not up to standard, or do they all get the message from the start?
Definitely. we work closely at Carshalton Boys. Steve Bodset is our head of education, and we speak on a regular basis just to see where the boys are at, and if any of them fall behind in any of their work, and we take the football off them. For me, if you're going to come out off this program, you're coming away from it as you're coming out with something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any value in just coming here to think you're going to be a footballer, because it's hard being a footballer, and probably 2 or 3 make it every year. I'm not saying they don't make it anywhere else, but to make it at this football club, you 2 or 3 max, really. So, if they can go away and come out of it with, a couple of A levels, it might give them a chance to go into uni and stuff like that. And, not everyone can be a footballer, but you can go and play football in part-time football and really enjoy yourself and get the same buzz out of being a professional footballer, but you're doing it split jobs. So, I just think that it's really important that education, for me, is just as important as the football.
And you also mentioned quite a few times about the teamwork and camaraderie amongst players. How do you foster that? How do you get that together? I know they've been off on a trip away, but how do you kind of keep that teamwork going?
Yeah, that always helps, going away to Benidorm, not Benidorm, Portobello's every year on a football tour, which is great. But they work so hard, But it's so good for the new first years, because it integrates them, and it's probably the first time they've actually been away from mum and dad. So we start to develop him into being men and taking responsibility. So we're big on teamwork, and we go paintballing throughout the year. We're constantly doing stuff where they're working as team. We're working as a team, and we make sure that the boys come to first team games, so they get a feel for it. That some of them work on match days and doing stuff, and I just want them to be part of this football club. I felt that training near the club, being at the club, I think you get a feel for the club and the people around it. And just by not being at the club and only coming to games 20 times a year or whatever, I don't think you get that feel of what this football club is all about. And this year for me is a great situation, because the first team have changed training facilities, which is going to be local now.
Yeah.
Which will be so much easier for us as an academy, because we can go up and watch them, or Steve could ask for boys to come in to train, and it'll be a lot easier. And yeah, I just feel that the first team boys will understand this football club. It's not Stamford Bridge, but it's Gowner Green Lane, right? And that's
Absolutely
our club.
Yeah. So I'm wrapping up, don't worry. How do you keep up with not just all the admin, all the coaching, but for your knowledge, learning any sort of latest techniques and whatnot? How do you keep your mind active?
Delegate. Something I've learned as an academy manager: you cannot do it all. You've got to trust your people around you. And as I say, the ones who go by the wayside, they don't want to be here. But the ones that stay, they're good people to have around. And I'm really, really lucky. I've got an assistant, Kelly Jade, she's a star, and I couldn't do half the stuff that I do, getting on the training ground, recruitment, and I do a lot of the stuff, and Kelly does a lot of the admin stuff and fills in all the gaps, and together, we work as a real good partnership. So delegate with your staff, treat them fairly, and you get more from them, and we're lucky, really. We've got really good staff in the academy.
Yeah, that's something I've had to learn. Is it's always a lot easier for me just to quickly go and do it, but then it's like, well, how does that help you? Because you now don't know how to do it, so I've got to teach people how to do it. Even though I'm pulling my limited hair out, going, I could have done this 5 minutes ago, but it's the coaching side, I guess. I'm going to let you go. I didn't think. I do apologise. We're going to wrap up this episode.
No problem. I've enjoyed it.
It's great to talk. I mean, how can people keep up to date with the academy? How can people support the academy? What can we do to make things better and easier for you and the players?
Well, just be there and support us. You know, we're now going to be playing our home games at the David Weir, and you know we can advertise the games. We do newsletters. We do we just general what do they call it now? Social media. That's the word. We do lots of social media now. And yeah, just stay in touch with it. You know, just keep up to date with the players. Even come down to Aberdale on a Sunday. You know, we're always there every Sunday. Between the end of August right the way through till the end of April. Every Sunday morning between 10 till 12, we have 3 teams playing there. It'll be either the 9s, 11s, 13s, or it'll be the 10s, 12s, 14s. So, you know, plenty of action, plenty of seeing the new young talent going up there. And, you know, if you do want to come, just put a message out to someone at the academy and we'll put you down on the list and come up and enjoy us.
Excellent. Well, we will wrap up now. This finishes the episode of Sutton Podcast. We always appreciate everyone's ear attention and feedback. I know there's eyes rolling. Follow, like, share, retweet this episode. Let everyone know all about Jimmy because he's spoken a lot and I've not spoken much today. So that's even more a bonus. We'll be back with another interview very soon. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin, and thank you to Jimmy. Hope you've enjoyed this episode and take care. We will catch up soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. United! United!